Okay, let me take a quick revision of just 5 minutes because it's almost 3 days like have been passed. We connected for this. So, we started with the concepts of asynchronous programming, and then we are on to the topic of batch programming. Actually, we completed it, right? So, what we have seen is, first of all, what is the use of batch class? Then, what exactly is the batch class? How to write down a batch classes? How many different types of methods the batch classes have? And then, what is the format of writing a batch class and everything that we have seen. So this we have taken with the first example. Now second example what we have taken for this is like it was about how we can manage how we can transfer the output of one batch class to another batch class. Because see, we have seen one thing. Usually what the default nature, if we talk about the default behavior, the default nature of a batch class is like, it used to maintain the transactions. It used to maintain the transaction. Now, what does this mean? So, maintaining the transaction actually means the results, the results and the governor limit and everything. If a batch class is executed, then after the batch class has been has been finished, when we come up to the finish method and everything has been over, this batch class has been executed. Now, so after the execution of that particular batch class, whatever the result is generated, it was stored into the heap memory and everything related to the governor limit. The number of SQL queries, the number of heap memories, and everything, whatever this, the kind of your governor limit, everything has been reset. So if everything is going to be get reset, your result is also going to be get lost. That is what we have seen. So if we wanted to transfer the result of one batch class to the another batch class, that means a subsequent batch class, not another, a subsequent batch class. For example, if batch B1 is executed and after B1 it's the turn of B2 to be get executed, that means the next subsequent batch is B2. After the execution of B2, like B3 is going to be get executed. And if I wanted to transfer, if I there are few of the parameters, there are few of the results, there are the data of few of the variables are there, that I wanted this data to be get transferred from batch B1 to the batch B2 to the batch B3. So I wanted something, something should be get transferred from the ancestors to the child to the grandchild and something like that. So if we wanted this to be get happen, and how to transfer the result of one batch to another batch, we have used one of the interface, one of the standard interfaces for this, the name called as stateful, database.stateful interface. So the second program that we have taken was all related like how to transfer. So we actually required just to add a small interface. We make a class to be a batch class if it implements database.batchable, and to make it as a stateful, to make this batch class as a stateful, we just want we actually require to implement one more method over here, and that's the stateful method. Right? This to up to this, like guys, we have finished. Now let's start with the next concept, a concept of flex queues. See, flex queue is just a theoretical concept. First of all, there is no implementation for this, but it's important to understand. It's important to understand. Actually, let me go with that diagram. With this diagram, with this diagram, open with. So with this diagram, we have started the concepts of batch programming. So we have started the concepts of batch programming, right? Now see. So I told you one thing. No, not just with the batch programming. I need to say with the concepts of asynchronous operation. Yes. This is the right diagram I was searching for. Okay, so here, when this was the first diagram, when I started this topic asynchronous programming, to make a difference between synchronous and asynchronous operation, we have used this diagram, right? And then we have seen one request at a time, like one request at a time is something called as synchronous operation, something called as synchronous. What is asynchronous? Asynchronous can handle multiple requests, although it's going to process one request, obviously. But then it could at least store some more requests. For example, if request 1 is generated, and then if server is processing request number 1, in the meantime, if request number 2 and 3 and 4, they are also generated and they also wanted to be get executed. So at least there is something, Apex queue. There's a memory where you can at least accommodate these of the requests. Like you can accommodate request number 2 and then 3 and then 4. So these all requests we can accommodate them, we can put them all together into a memory, a heap memory. The name of this memory is apex queue. Now I'd like to ask one question with you guys. How many jobs I could put up? How many requests this apex queue can handle? Yes. Yes, any one
Five.
of you?
Five, sir.
Exactly. Very good. So this apex queue can maximum store five request, five jobs, not more than that. This is what the capacity. Now see, this was something beyond after winter 2017. After winter 2017 release, something new occurred. Something new happens with the asynchronous programming. Previously, before winter 2017, this was the actual structure. This was the actual structure of asynchronous operation. There were only one memory. There were only one memory, Apex queue. Apex queue is used to store all unexecuted requests, but it has a certain capacity that it could maximum store five requests. So before 2017, winter 2017, this was the structure. This was the structure of Apex asynchronous operation. Now, after winter 2017, actually, Salesforce has upgraded this. Salesforce has bring up with certain kinds of upgrade with this. And what was that upgrade? Now we are learning that topic, something called as flex queues. Okay. Now let's see. See, uh, with that diagram, we are now familiar with this, that the Apex queue can maximum store five jobs, not more than that. But after winter 2017, the Salesforce has performed certain improvements in this logic, and the whole asynchronous operation has been improved. Another form of memory with the name flex queue, flexible queue. Another form of memory with the name called as flexible queue. This has been introduced. So let's first of all go with the theory, and then we will come back to this diagram. Okay, what is a flex queue? The Apex queue, conventionally, what we have seen, it used to store the unexecuted batch jobs, but it has a capacity maximum five active jobs, not more than that. So if we ever thought about this, okay, what happens if we have more than five requests? What happens if we have more than five requests? So obviously your Apex queue is not going to solve the purpose in that after five, this Apex becomes free. The Apex queue becomes full. So obviously, it can only store five Apex jobs, five batch jobs, not more than that. But what if the client have some more jobs to be get processed? Then obviously they are not going to be accommodated to Apex queue. So winter 2017, basically after winter 2017, actually Salesforce come up with a new update. What was that? Now Salesforce come up with a new kind of memory with a name called as FlexQ. So FlexQ is very similar. FlexQ is very similar to ApexQ. It also used to store the unexecuted batch jobs. All of the batch requests that needs to be get processed, but server is busy, and so these are stored inside flex queues. Now what is this concept? How we are going to understand which job is going to be get reside into apex queue, what's the capacity, and then which jobs are going to be get reside into flex queue, what's the capacity and everything. So let's discuss this in detail. This I'm telling you, this is a theoretical concept. This is an internal execution concept of Salesforce asynchronous operation is actually done with the help of two queues. There are two queues for that. It's a collection of two queues, Apex and the Flex queue. One second, guys. That this one is an important call. Yes. So now this is the internal diagram of the asynchronous operation. So now asynchronous operation doesn't only have Apex queue. So after this topic, when we understand what is a flex queue and what's the role of flex queue, you will now going to say in interview that every asynchronous operation consists of two different forms of memory. And listen this very carefully. Listen this very carefully. Every asynchronous operations have two different forms of memory, apex and flex. Apex and flex. So what is this apex queue? What is the common between these two queue? They all of them, all of them, apex queue and flex queue. Both of them used to store what? Both of them used to store unexecuted batch job request. All of the jobs, all of the apex job that needs to be get executed, but because server is busy with handling some another request, and that's the reason they are stored. Now let's understand what is the relationship between these two, how actually a batch jobs are basically processed from here to here. Understand. First of all, capacity. First point, your apex queue can maximum store five unexecuted job, whereas the flex queue, no, flex queue can store 100 unexecuted job. So how does this actually happen? Let me try to show you something. Let me try to show you something. So see, there are different states of a job. First of all, there are different states of a job. Typically, there are 4 states. Every job have something called a state. Let me show you that. So we have seen that if we wanted to see the execution of a bad job, where should we go? Jobs. And in the job, we should go with this apex job. Now as soon as I click on this, see there is a column, there's a field called as status. There's a field called as status, right? So all of the bad job that we have executed, they come up over here. Now every job have a certain thing called as status. Now see, every bad job have 4 different kinds of status. The first one is holding, queued. The third one is processing, and then fourth one is completed. The fourth one is completed. Okay. These are the four different status of every job. Every batch job have a different kind of status. Every batch job have a different kind of status, and you have seen this over here also. So when we come to the Salesforce, when we come to the apex job, we have seen that there's a column called as status. There's a column called as status column, right? So this indicates that every job have a status. There's something called a status. There's something called a status. Every batch job have something called a status. There are 4 different types of status: holding, queued, processing, and then completed. Now let's understand how this different status have been assigned. Okay, let's understand how this different status have been assigned. Let me try to draw a diagram for this. So see, we have flex queue and apex queue. Okay, we have flex queues and apex queue. So okay, let me use that diagram only. ये वाला use कर लेता हूँ. See, we have these 2 queues. Okay, so now for example, let's say that 100 jobs have been submitted. 100 jobs have been submitted, and there was something that job J5 or J5 dash something like that, 51. Or let me not name this. I could only say that server is executing something, a previously submitted request. Okay, server is actually executing a previously submitted request. 100 new jobs have been assigned. Server is busy with this request. Server is now processing this request, and I mean at this quantum of time, at this current moment of the time, server is executing something, a request. We call this has to be the PSR, previously submitted request. Now server is executing this request. The execution has not been over. Execution is still in the process. Execution is going on. Server is executing this request. The response haven't been generated. Another 100 requests has been sent by the client. Now where these all 100 requests are going to be get accommodated? Now let's understand this. Okay. See, out of these 100 requests, 95 will be going to be get reside inside flex queue, and the first five requests will going to be reside into apex queue. The first 5 requests, 1 2 3 4 5, they are going to be get resided into apex queue. Rest 95 requests, they are going to be get reside into what? Flex queues. They are going to be get reside into flex queue. Your apex queue can maximum store 5 requests. Your flex queue can store 100 requests. Okay, flex queues can store 100. Or let me remodify this. Let me modify this. Let's consider that 105, 105 request has been submitted. Let's consider that total 105 request has been submitted. So first 5 requests will go to the Apex queue, and rest 100 requests, rest of the 100 requests, they are going to get resided into this queue zone, flex queue. So basically, you know what happened, Apex queue and the flex queue, they are both of them. If something is common in between these two queues, the common thing is like, both of them used to store, both of them you one second guys, one second. Yeah, one thing which is common between these two is like, both of them used to store unprocessed batch request. Now these five requests, that are presently, okay, let me start from here, these 100 requests, all of the 100 requests, all of the 100 batch jobs that are presently resided into flex queue, all of the batch jobs, job request, whatever you wanted to say, all of the batch jobs, the batch request that are there into the flex queue, that are there into the flex queue, have a status called as holding. Hold. Have a status called as, not hold exactly, it's holding. Have a status called as holding. All of the batch job could be 100, could be 95, 81, whatever. All of the batch jobs that are there into the flex queues, have a status as to be holding. Understood? All of the batch jobs that are there into the flex queues, have the status as to be what? As to be holding. So all of the 100 jobs, let's assume that 105 jobs were being submitted. First 5 have been transferred to Apex queue. Rest 100 have been there. Rest 100, they are being accommodated into flex queues. Now, if all the 100 jobs, whatever is the job that is inside the flex queue, have the status as to be what? Holding. Okay. 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 Now let's understand this. These five jobs that are accommodated inside the Apex queue, they have a status called as queued. 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 The jobs that are stored inside Apex queue, that are being accommodated inside, being transferred inside Apex queue, all of the batch jobs that are there into the Apex queue have a status queued. Fine. Okay. Now see, why we store the batch job over here? What is the story? What is the idea behind? What's the ultimate reason why we actually stored them inside queues? Because we wanted them to be get processed, right? That's what the reason. Server was busy with some previously submitted requests. That's the reason they are being accommodated into these waiting rooms. They are being accommodated into these waiting rooms. You go to the, you go to, like, to catch up a train, to board for a flight, and you have some time, so you go to the waiting area, right? And you stay over there. That's the reason. Server was busy. Servers were actually processing some another request, and so these jobs were being kept waiting. They were being kept waiting. There are two different queues for that, right? All of the jobs that are waited inside flex queue, they have a status called as holding. Now for them who are there into the Apex queue, the status is queued. Fine. Now, one of the job. Now let's consider the server is free now. Server is free to process the request. And so it will take, there's a bidirectional communication everywhere. There's a bidirectional communication over here. Server will fetch one request from here. Let's understand this request, J1. J1 is now being actually transferred. It's being removed from the Apex queue. And this J1 is now being boarded to what? Server 8. J1 has catch the train. and now it's being boarded on server. So J1 is now over here. J1 is now over here. J1 is not over here now. J1 has been removed from this queue. J1 has been removed from the queue, and now J1 has been transferred to the server. Now, as soon as this J1 has been transferred, as soon as the J1 has been transferred, and server is actually processing it, server is actually processing it. Server is actually processing it. The status becomes processing. The status become processing, right? And try to understand this. Now the status of this job becomes processing. What happened after the job is being processed? Response is generated. Response is generated. Whatever the execution of J1 was, J1 is now fully executed. J1 is now fully executed, and so the response is generated from the server. Now, this is something J1's response, J1 response. So what about this job status now? Now the status of this job becomes executed. This becomes executed. Executed. That's what I think. So this is a journey of a job. There's one more point I need to explain it over here. Very small point. Very small point. Let me explain that, and we will, once again revise this. So you see, one job has been transferred. One job has been transferred from this queue, Apex queue. So that means this can store 5. 1 is transferred, 5 minus 1, 4. 4 are there. There's a chance that one more job could be accommodated. So what's going to be happen? One will be getting transferred from flex queue to Apex queue. Probably J6. 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 Now J6 is now over here. After this J1, J2 come up over here. J2 will be get executed. And so J2 is also not here. J3 will come over here. They will going to be shift right. J6 is also there. One more space is there. Who is going to be transferred from flex queue to the Apex queue? It will be J7. Okay, it will be J7. It will be J7. So this is the way, this is the way. This is the way this whole execution take place. And one last thing. Flex queue, the jobs never transferred from flex queue to the server, but they can be transferred from server to flex queue. For example, J7 was being processed. Now, due to some reason, J7 was stopped in the middle of execution. 1 second. So, see, the jobs cannot be transferred from flex queue to the server directly. Rather, they can be transferred from server to flex queue. Why? Understood this. Suppose there is a job J7. Suppose there is a job J7. And server was now processing J7, but due to due to something that happened to J7, the J7 execution was stopped in the middle. So where this J7 is going to be get accommodated? अपेक्स क्यू में जा नहीं सकता बिकॉज सी अपेक्स क्यू की टेंडेंसी कैसा है कि as soon as one job is transferred from apex queue to the Salesforce server, it will going to pick one job from flex queue. ये immediate transfer चलता रहता है. ठीक है, तो ये आप जान लो कि at any instance of time if you're going to check apex queue, it will obviously have 5 jobs हमेशा रहेंगे उसमें. अगर यहाँ से एक आध जॉब कम भी होता है, इफ एनी जॉब ट्रांसफर फ्रॉम द अपेक्स क्यू टू द सेल्सफोर्स सर्वर, इट विल गोइंग टू फेच वन फ्रॉम द फ्लेक्स क्यू. हाँ, अगर फ्लेक्स क्यू खाली है तो उसी रीजन में हम कह सकते हैं कि अपेक्स क्यू में अब जॉब नहीं होंगे. अगर जॉब है फ्लेक्स क्यू में तो अपेक्स क्यू विल इमीडिएटली फेच एज सून एज वन जॉब इज ट्रांसफर्ड फ्रॉम हियर टू देयर, हियर टू देयर, वन जॉब इज गोइंग टू बी गेट फेच फ्रॉम फ्लेक्स क्यू. तो ये आप जान लो कि आप कभी भी आओगे ना घूमते फिरते खाना खा के घूम फिर के अपेक्स क्यू को चेक करने, इट विल ऑलवेज हैव 5 जॉब्स. तो ये यहाँ तो जा नहीं सकता J7. अब J7 के साथ एक ऐसा हादसा हो गया कि उसका एग्जीक्यूशन बीच में स्टॉप हो गया है, बट इट कैन नॉट बी गेट अकोमोडेटेड इनटू अपेक्स क्यू, क्योंकि अपेक्स क्यू में तो पहले ही 5 जॉब है और हमेशा ही रहेंगे. जब J7 यहाँ पर आया था उसका रिप्लेसमेंट कोई ना कोई फ्लेक्स क्यू से ट्रांसफर हो चुका है, एक जॉब ट्रांसफर हो चुका है, उसको वापस नहीं भेजेंगे हम. इसीलिए J7 कहाँ जाएगा अगर इसका एग्जीक्यूशन बाय द वे किसी वजह से भी फंसता है, तो J7 वापस जाएगा फ्लेक्स क्यू में, और फ्लेक्स क्यू से उसको अपनी जर्नी फिर से जो है कंप्लीट करनी पड़ेगी. फ्रॉम द फ्लेक्स क्यू द जॉब्स आर गोइंग टू बी गेट ट्रांसफर टू अपेक्स क्यू, और अपेक्स क्यू से जाते हैं सर्वर पे. तो ये है फ्लो. ठीक है, ये है फ्लो, और ये है जॉब्स की 4 स्टेट जो कि एक इंटरव्यू क्वेश्चन है. व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट स्टेट्स ऑफ अ बैच जॉब? what are the different states of a batch job? And when you are explaining this, see, shorthand answers nahi dena kabhi bhi interview pe. I tell this to everybody. I tell this to everyone. If this is my question to you, what are the different states of a batch job? You will not answer me in short form. There are 4 different states: holding, queued, processing, and executed. There are 4 states. There are 4 states: holding. There are 4 states: holding, queued, processing, and completed, or been executed, whatever. Don't answer like this. You need to say yes. There are 4 states. There are 4 states, and start by by saying the name. There are 4 states of a batch job: holding, queued, processing, and complete. Now let me explain you. Now let me explain you what exactly this concept is all about. And there you need to introduce the concept of flex queue. See what you need to say. To perform the asynchronous operation, not just with the batch programming. Here we are not, this concept we are not, we are not projecting this concept just related to batch programming. Rather, I'm repeatedly saying this for asynchronous operation. For asynchronous operation, every time I'm not saying batch programming, I'm saying asynchronous operation. What does this signifies to you? This concept we are studying this, in prospective of every batch operation, every asynchronous operation, what we are going to learn. Okay, understand this. So what you need to say is like, how will you start your answer? How will you start your answer? If I'll ask you this question, what are the different states? What are the different states of a batch programming? Let me see whether I have written this into my. What are the different states of a batch job? What are the different states of a batch job? That's okay. Batch job, okay. You need to say me that yes, there are 4 different states: holding, queued, processing, and completed. Now let me explain you what this concept is all about. So here you need to elaborate your answer by saying this, that every asynchronous programming consists of 2 different types of queues. Whenever we design a synchronous program, it could be a batch program, a scheduled program, a future method, or a queuable interfaces. These are the 4 things that we are going to learn. When within this scope of asynchronous programming, within this boundary, asynchronous programming is the topic that we have started. It's a lengthy topic. It will going to take some time. We are going to learn 4 major things. Flex queue is 5th, but that's just a concept, a theoretical concept, right? The first one is the batch programming. I'm talking about those things that we are going to implement it. I'm talking about those things that we are going to have an implementation. That means we are going to write the programs for that. Batch programming, we have written the programs, right? Scheduled programming, we will also be writing that. Queuable interfaces, future method. These are the 4 major aspects of asynchronous programming. One more theoretical concept is the flex queue. So you will be saying that all of the asynchronous operations are generally executed with the help of 2 different queues: apex queue, flex queue. Apex queue, flex queue. So you need to say the same example. You need to say the same example. If I submitted 105 jobs, and for example, server is executing previously submitted request PSR, then where this 105 jobs is going to be get recited? Let's bifurcate them. Let's route them, and let's divide this crowd of 105 jobs into 2 different places. First 5, first come, first serve. First 5 is going to be get accommodated into this queue, apex queue. Rest 100 of them are going to be resided into flex queues. Now all of the jobs, now let me start the story from here. All of the jobs that are there into the flex queue have the status as to be hold. For those who are there into the flex queue, have the status as to be queued. And see, when this PSR is completed, previously submitted record is completed, what's going to be happen? One job is going to be get transferred from this apex queue to the server. If I ask you, can any job transferred from the flex queue? क्या यहाँ से कभी transfer होता है? Always say no, 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 and stuck to this no. कभी नहीं होता. कभी भी flex queue से server पे transfer नहीं होता है, ठीक है? Yeah. So always say and very confidently say that the jobs are always transferred from flex queue to the apex queue and from apex queue to the server. Although from server they could be transferred to the flex queue. उसका reason भी बता दिया मैंने आपको. हाँ. तो when a job is get transferred from apex queue to the server, for example J1, now the status becomes what? Executing. And after completion, when the response is generated, it's completed or executed. ठीक है, यहाँ पे executing नहीं, शायद processing है. हाँ, यहाँ पे processing है, it's processing. ठीक है. So by these are the four status of jobs. These are the four status of a batch job. ठीक है. और ये क्वेश्चन इस तरह से पूछा जाता है. So you need to answer in the same way. When you are giving the answer, you need to answer in the same way. That's what the thing. So read this concept. This is something related. I mean, it's important related to your interview. So where you could see the all the flex job, all the flex job. Let me try to execute. Let me try to see it. So see, we go to the same thing. I mean, in the jobs we have see Apex Flex queues. Okay, Apex Flex queue. I'll try to execute something over here. Actually, this is very difficult because in the real time, its server is very fast. Now this could accommodate. This is the place where you will be seeing all of the jobs that are there into the flex queue. Let me try to show it to you. We have, oh my god, I'm into Ankit's login. Let me just log out from here. You guys even not telling me यार कि मैंने कौन सी login पे है मैं. I have this person from Australia. I mean, he was actually facing some difficulties by today. So I had a call with this. Live we have been connected and this. Anyways, let me try to log in with your all. Yours is 201. When? March of 5th. Okay. For 1 hour. Scheduled maintenance, my goodness. For 1 hour. I think it's a long maintenance. Usually it doesn't take this much of time. So this is something you could expect. This one is a long maintenance. Anyways, I created a batch class. I remember that I created a batch class. Let me try to see what was the name. Hiring manager batch or something like that. HIRI hiring manager update batch. Yes, I created this batch. So this is a simple batch class. Let me try to create an example. Hmm. What was the name of the second batch that I created? Calculate total annual revenue. Let me try with that. Calculate total annual revenue. Let me first of all see the code. Okay. See what I'm going to do. I'm creating as usual, I'm creating this object of the batch class and let me try it like this. For integer counters equals to, let's say, 1, and counter is less than or equals to maybe let me initially try with 200 and then counter plus plus. So here let me try with this. So I'll be calling database dot execute batch. I'm calling this method 200 times. And let me, what I'm actually creating, I'm actually calling this method 200 times. So batch size, I'm giving it to probably 10. Let me try to see what happens with this. Does it throw? Okay, 100. Oh yeah, let me show you that once again. No. Let me show you that once again. What was the error that? Yeah, see. You have exceeded the limit of 100 jobs in the flex queue. What does this signifies? This is a governor limit. This is a governor limit that at maximum you could store 100 jobs in the flex queue. See, execute anonymous error. System dot async exception. Why async? Because this one is an asynchronous programming and this exception has been generated from it. That's why async exception. For the org, this is our org ID. ये अपना org ID है ना? यहाँ से generate होके आया है. So see, this is a governor limit. You have exceeded the limit of 100 jobs. Where? From the flex queue. From the flex queue. Let me, highlight this once again. Okay. And then let me take a screenshot. I'll be pasting this into your group. Okay, I'll be pasting this onto your group. Your group is 201. 201. Now we have this. Yes. Okay. So I'll be trying this with. Let me try to minimize this a little bit. Let's call it 10 times. I'm making one batch, one job at a time. So I'm making this amendments over here. I'll be trying to call this batch 10 times. Let's see what happens. Okay, so my request has been sent to this server. So I'm immediately going to this and here I'll be going to jobs and jobs. Come on, yaar. Oh my God, what's happening? इतने टाइम में तो वो एग्जीक्यूट ही हो जाएगा यार. My goodness. Okay, come on. So actually, meanwhile, the jobs are getting executed and so it's taking time to get reloaded. If it gets reloaded properly, I could show you the jobs into the flex queue. I'm trying for that. I think it's going to be get executed. Uske baad hi aayega. It's nothing. There is nothing in the debug. One second, guys. Let me try to log in once. I don't know what's happening with this. Is there something wrong with internet or something wrong with my flex job? This is what flex job. Unfortunately, everything has been executed. That's the reason I just wanted it to be get immediately. So once again, I'm doing the same code. Once again, I'll be no response from the server. I know. let me close everything, and let me once again go to the developer console, and once again let's open the same batch class. I'm opening the same, not the email utility. I'm opening that class with the name calculate, or let me try this with hiring manager class, hiring manager update batch class. I'm trying with this is what, it's control C. So I'll be, first of all, in the, how will you execute a batch class? You first of all create an object of it. So HR batch, with this name I'm creating an object. New what? Oh, new, this name, and a default constructor. This is what you created, and you created an object. This is the step number one. Now step number two is to call, step number two is to what? Execute database dot execute batch. Here we need to give this name, here we need to give this. Now आपको दिखाने के लिए what I'm actually doing is, like, I'm doing what with a batch size of say 5, because I am actually executing this code multiple times, and I wanted this to be get resided into Apex Flex queue. That's why I'm trying. Let me try it once again. Counter equals to, for example, 1, and then let's execute this. Counter is probably less than and equals to, say, 10 times, and then counter plus plus, counter plus plus. So I'll be trying with this code. Let me cut and paste it over here. Okay, counter 1 less than counter. Okay, let me once again try with the same code, and here let me try to refresh this, because everything happens in the backend, it happens in nanoseconds, but we actually it's very hard to see the result from flex queues, but at least we could try. Although we could see all of them into the Apex queue में हम सब देख सकते हैं. Seeing things on the flex queue is a little bit tricky, and it's a little bit difficult, because जब तक ये प्रोसेस करता है, ये लोड करता है, तब तक तो बैकएंड पे आपके सारे जॉब एग्जीक्यूट हो जाते हैं. I don't think this is going to be work. Anyways, no, I don't think this is going to be work. It's taking much time to load the response. So, 1 second. So let me stop this. Let's go to the, no, it's not going to be get loaded. Let me try to show this with the Apex queue. Apex queue से मैं आपको बताने की कोशिश करता हूँ, because it's really difficult to locate the things into the flex queue. That's really difficult. So let's go to the setup menu, and here we will be seeing Apex queue तो मैं नहीं दिखा पा रहा हूँ आपको, but at least we could see कि flex queue, flex queue तो मैं आपको नहीं दिखा पा रहा हूँ, but at least we could see कि हाँ Apex queue पे कौन कौन से जॉब सबमिट हुए हैं यहाँ पे. तो here you can see the status are completed. जितने भी हैं सारे के स्टेटस जो है वो सारे कंप्लीटेड हो चुके हैं. दिस आई एक्चुअली वांटेड टू बी गेट इम्प्लीमेंटेड. अगर मैं आपको यहाँ लेके जा पाता, इफ पॉसिबली आई कुड शो समथिंग ओवर हियर, तो यहाँ पे तुमको ना स्टेटस उनके अलग अलग नजर आते थे. अनफॉर्चुनेटली वी कैन नॉट सेट अप दैट. वो बैकएंड पे इतनी फास्ट होता है कि हम लोग नहीं कर पाते हैं उसको ट्रैक. So with this, let's end the session. Today, we are stopping it from here, and tomorrow we will be starting with the future methods. Okay, let me stop the recording first of all.